Alright, I totally lost my train of thought because it's been a while, but I am back. So let's watch this game, man. So since this is the last of the 5 games you sent me, I wanted to sum things up. And I think I basically already did. So, 2 passive. That's another one that I didn't mention yet. Against Protoss, you want to be attacking him or taking a third, doing something aggressively geared towards winning the game, right? This is bad. You delayed your orbital because you wanted this second supply. That's probably just a mistake because I've never seen you do that before. But don't do that. It's not good. You just totally forgot your orbital. Whoa. Totally forgot your orbital. What's going on? Oh, this isn't you. This is your moronic opponent. Okay. I was like, what the heck is going on? What kind of moron? So yeah, you're actually a good player, so you're not that moron. Okay, anyway, what I was saying, yeah, against Zerg, with the Uber Ups build, you want to be attacking around 15 minutes when you want to secure your third, because your main starts to run dry at 15 minutes. Against Protoss, you want to be attacking around 10 minutes, because they're strong from 8 to 9. I mean, they're strong from 6 to 9, and then they're weak from 9 until they get Colossus or High Templar. So you want to attack during that weak window. And against Terran, it's hard because Terran's a mirror matchup, so they're never really strong or weak. So I don't know what to say about Terran, but against Terran, you still need to be aggressively doing something towards winning the game. If you can't just take a second, pile up units in your base and say, well, at least I have 2 bases and lots of units. Because if you get stuck with 70 workers on 1 base because your main went dry, you lose, right? Because only 30 of your workers can do anything at this 1 base. So you really either need a third or to win the game before the 15-minute mark in every matchup. So that's something you really got to work on, is the passivity thing. You keep getting stuck on 1 base at 15 minutes, which is terrible. And when I say 1 base, I mean 2 bases, but one of them's mined out. You know, I already said that. Anyway, so it looks like this build. Now the first 8 minutes of the game is when rushes will hit, right? Most rushes hit at 7 minutes, but some of them hit at 6 and some of them hit at 8. And so it's important for those first 8 minutes of the game to make sure you have a reasonable army size, and you do not in this case. And this is what I've said before, is that you need to start your third production facility at 6 minutes, because by 8 minutes, if you only have $1,000 plus 400 spent on upgrades and 100 spent on your bunker, that's 1,500, and you wanted 2,000, so you're short by 500 bucks. So if he comes with a $2,000 army, especially if it includes tanks and a Viking, he can just siege you and slowly push up here and win. So you have been, in every TVT I've watched from you, you have been very vulnerable to somebody just taking Marines and tanks and killing you at the 8-minute mark. And again, I've said a lot before, what you want to do to defend against a strategy, or to learn what makes a strategy strong or weak, is to do it. So I recommend going Rax factory before your expo, and delaying your first expo all the way to 7 minutes, so that you can keep up constant production out of these 3 facilities, making Marauder, Marine, Tank, combat shields. Don't even bother with Stim. Get siege mode instead. And then push out when your second tank spawns and go kill your opponent. You will win a ton of games doing that. And even when you lose, don't get discouraged. Just do it again. You'll win the next one. Because it's a really hard, hitting someone right at 8 minutes, as you saw from your own play. At 8 minutes, both you and your opponent were very weak. Either of you would have lost to an 8-minute Marine Marauder tank push. So get an idea of how strong it is, and get an idea of what strategies are beating it. Like 1 siege tank behind a bunker with 1 Viking will easily stop that. But you don't have a siege tank behind a bunker with siege mode and a Viking. So it'll reinforce in your mind what's important. Having a siege tank with siege mode at 8 minutes and a Viking is important, because otherwise you can just lose. Anyway, your opponent is going Thor, and Thor is a very dangerous strategy because Thors cost 500 bucks. They're very strong and they can be repaired. and they're super strong against siege tanks. They're very weak against marauders, but they're very strong against siege tanks. So if you don't know he's going Thor, I think you scanned and saw that he was going Thor, yeah. So as soon as you saw Thors, you should cut siege tank production to 0. Start building an armory and start getting Thors of your own, because siege tanks are not good against Thors. Marine Marauder Thor will beat Marine Marauder siege tank, like, hands down. It'll just dominate the piss out of it. Get an idea of who's doing better. You're as usual, your macro is mondo huge, awesome, way bigger than his. You're up to 72 workers and he's got 40. So you really need to secure this third though, because as soon as you pass 55 workers, you can't support it on 2 bases anymore. So you built this command center, and now you're going to go secure that third just like you need to. And that's great. So Banshee Thor is a very hard strategy to beat with Marine Marauder Siege Tank Viking. In TVT, there's this kind of weird... Air plays a kind of weird role. If one player gets air dominance and then goes Battlecruiser Viking, they win. There's nothing that Terran has that can stop Battlecruiser Viking except more Vikings. Especially the Battlecruiser Viking Raven Thor. So it's really important that you not get out starported by an enemy Terran. Now if he's making Vikings off of 2 starports, you can make Thors and completely ignore the air. But only for a little while, because eventually he's going to transition, and then he'll have so many more Vikings than you that you just can't catch up, and he'll make a couple battlecruisers and the game will be over. So you never want him to be producing air off of 2 starports while you're producing air off of 1, but it's okay because you have more starports than him, so you're actually ahead in that regard. I don't know why I mentioned all of that, because it doesn't seem to be relevant to this game. So you should consider your Vikings to be part of your army, kind of like siege tanks and Vikings are sitting in the back with a really long range while the M&Ms stand up front to soak up the damage. I feel like you guys are even on army, but you have a much bigger supply, and you just secured your third and he just secured his third, but you have so many more workers than him that at this point it behooves you to just play defensive and secure a 4th and just keep producing the units you're producing. So you don't need to attack into him, and you certainly don't need to fight separate from your tanks. This is why I don't love tanks, because they're so immobile that if you combine tanks together with very mobile things like Marauders and Marine Marauder Viking Medevac, it's so easy to be separated from your tanks and lose a whole bunch of crap. So you just lost $2,000 worth of crap nowhere near your tanks, and this is why I hate freaking tanks. So you might actually